religion develops people to not see. I think back to my religious days when I was deep in the faith and just how much and how subtle it was to have this way of life that has developed into what we see today at the forefront of how things are done and performed and want to be done and performed by certain sectors of this country. And it doesn't surprise me at all because I look back at my religious faith and I see the groundworks into it. A little subtle thing here and there that kind of eased the transition was the frog in the frying pan type thing, where I look back at how we were there just policing each other nonstop. A little individual Gestapo force going around and holding people accountable. Had accountability groups. I was in a men's group that was an accountability group that we met every week and had to go over all the things that we deemed to be the proper masculine Christian tendencies to follow in the faith. A whole list of things we asked each other at the end of the time we met at breakfast and held everyone's feet to the fire. And I think about how we'd go around and police other people's actions. You know, if I was out at a restaurant and I saw someone having a beer, oh no, we got to hold spiritual reproof to that person and point it out and say, this is not the image you want to be. You're a minister in this church, and this is the type of image you want to put out into the world, irrespectful of their personal and private space, constantly on watch, policing everyone else. Kind of like these high controlled countries where you constantly got to find people that are doing everything and report them to the police forces in there to get them to be educated again, re-educated, if you will. But that's what we were. And it was trained into us to do this, to watch and put this, and more times than not, to project our own faults onto other people. Because it was so much easier to look at others and find the different things that are going on and correct the world and the actions going on to make people Christian than it was to look into a mirror and see what was going on with myself and what I had to do. I put my morals out onto other people and tried to force people to follow into that and say, these are the things I find and deem necessary and true in the world, and you have to fall in. And policing that on everyone else. Kind of similar to what we're seeing today, where people want to project their own morality on everyone else and not have it be an individual relationship like they teach in the churches. Other things you see is that this scapegoating on everything else. It's never our fault. We're actually the victims here. You know, you have the grand things of natural disasters that happen that you have to put it on groups of individuals in this country. So many tornadoes and hurricanes have been blamed on the LGBTQ community for no substantiated other reason than other that God told me he was punishing us for the sins and inequities of our country for allowing this to happen, for allowing people to love who they want to love. And it's ridiculous when you sit back and think about it, because what does that have to do with anything? Why would I follow a God that would punish everyone because of one group's actions, irregardless of what it was and what it fell into? Why wouldn't he punish that group? It didn't make any sense. But we scapegoat and put all this stuff and blame on everyone else. We see scapegoating going on now. The problems with the country are immigration and LGBTQ again and everything else. That these are the issues. If we straighten this out, everything would be fine. But it's not. It's never going to be fine. It's never going to be good enough. We constantly got to keep whittling down and keeping people in fear and under the thumb and oppression of the leadership. And all this, there's so many examples of this that I learned in the church of how to not see and become that type of person. And it developed a country and eased a country into a transition where this doesn't seem so out of pocket, so out of hand, to be expelling people from the country, to be cutting benefits off from other people, to say diversity and equity aren't good things in our country because it gives an unfair balance and puts the victimhood back on us. Another lesson we always learn in Christianity. We are the biggest victims. We're the most oppressed group as Christians in the world because everyone's coming after and attacking us when it's just self-inflicted oppression. Just because people don't want to agree with me doesn't mean that's oppression. They're not forcing me not to believe what I want. When people tell me that they don't care to listen to what I have to say on a public space, that's not oppression. That just means I'm being annoying and they don't want to have to hear it. But that's what they put onto themselves, this victimhood mentality. And you see it right now. It's everyone else's problem. Everyone else doing this stuff is causing me issues, even though it has no direct effect or even remote effect on any way I live my life, whether someone comes across the border and works in a field somewhere, other than the fact that it makes my food cheaper in the long run and gives me something to eat at ease and frequency that I would like. But I have to believe that is a negative impact on me. It's a drain on everything I've done, even though if I were to look in the mirror, I'm probably more of a drain on society and the government than any of them people coming across the border to work. Sometimes we just got to look in the mirror and realize we kind of are the problem. We have to deal with it ourselves. And also understand that so many people, through their faith, whatever it may be, have been trained slowly to accept this as the norm, because that was their norm on their everyday trip to Sunday, on their every Sunday trip to church, their every Wednesday trip to church, to see that this is how we need to act and this is how we need to go. Religion made us into this today.